My name is Dr. Mildred. I am the Chief of Party of Afya Plus Kamili, working in Eastern and Central Kenya. I worked at CDC from the year 2005 until the time I joined Jhpiego in 2013 March. And I worked in various roles, starting off as a technical advisor, moving to senior technical advisor, and by the time I left, project director for PMTCT. Whatever I'm going to talk about here really reflects on my professional experience while I worked at CDC, but does not necessarily represent or reflect what every former CDC staffer may talk about. Right, the funding opportunity announcements, there is a particular guidance that is provided by the PEPFAR office. So whatever it is that we thought we needed, we included it, we developed titles for them, and that became the title of the FOA. We came up with what is the purpose, what exactly do we want to achieve. So the purpose was clearly written in that particular FOA. What were the activities? We kind of mapped out a little bit of what we expected. And the activities that we mapped out had to be in line with a country operational plan. Every year there was a country operational plan, and there was guidance again from the PEPFAR office on how that was done. So it was a very guided process. It took a lot of time. We went into groups, we worked in big groups, we worked in small teams, and eventually we zeroed down to 2 to 3 people working on a particular FOA. The writing of the FOAs is done in country. Like CDC, we just did it within the office, involving the staff that were there at that time. The technical staff, senior technical advisors, the project directors that were there, those are the people that were involved in the writing, and it was reviewed at a higher level after the initial writing was done. Now, talking about the review of the FOAs, it is quite an objective process. There is a selection of particular level, high level kind of staff. I'm talking about the senior technical advisors again and project directors. They are selected to be able to participate in objective reviews. Most of the people in the review panel are actually field staff. The people who are reviewing, like when we came from the CDC Kenya office, most of the people in that panel were CDC Kenya office staff, but we had a few from the head office in Atlanta. For example, one staff may be required to review about between 6 and 9 proposals from different countries, and depending on whether you get 6 or you get 9, out of those that you get, you will be expected to be a primary reviewer in 3 of them. So where you're a primary reviewer, you are expected to do intensive review of that particular proposal, because everybody else in the panel, and the panel normally is about 10 people, everyone else will be listening to your review, will be listening to your summary, will be listening to your scoring for every area that is kind of reviewed. So the primary reviewer is very, very key in the review process. Now there is a secondary reviewer who also reviews the proposal intensively, but perhaps less intensive compared to the primary reviewer. Then there is a tertiary reviewer. So any one person appears as a primary reviewer for 3 proposals, a secondary reviewer for another 3, and a tertiary reviewer for another 3. So that means you're reviewing a total of 9 different proposals from different countries, and you are giving your responses and you are scoring. And as you do the review, you actually, as you come across what you are looking for, you document even the page where you find it, so that anyone going back can say, yeah, this is where this particular information is found. And the review basically depends on evaluation criteria. The objective review panel consists of about 10 people. These 10 people, most of them are from the local country. Like most of us were from the Kenya CDC office, and we had one or two from Atlanta. So the primary reviewer starts on that particular proposal and gives a summary, and then after the summary they'll go ahead and start giving scores for every section. There are about 10 sections that they look at, and each section, after they go through and they say what they gave for the score. Then the secondary reviewer will also say whatever they gave for a score, and the tertiary reviewer will do the same. Now the rest of the members on the panel will just depend on that summary and will depend on the scores that these others have given and decide what score to give. Finally, there is an averaging. You get an average of all the 10 marks that have been given, or 10 points that have been awarded for every section that is being evaluated. So the proposal that you write from your country is reviewed by reviewers from other countries. It will never be from the same country. And they do not actually know how you are performing, but they do know how you perform maybe elsewhere in the world. So it's important, therefore, that as Jhpiego, wherever we are, we perform well, we have a good reputation. How much is given really depends on availability of funds. So the ceiling is there, it will not exceed that, but many times the award given actually is less than what the ceiling is. And by the way, CDC awards, from what I know, sometimes they even go a little beyond the ceiling, because maybe they realize whatever they had quoted earlier was actually less than what is required. And they'll know that once the work starts, once the partner comes on board, they'll realize that this partner actually needs more, and they have their own way of doing the review, and sometimes they give certain incremental funding that occasionally goes above the ceiling. But usually, rule of thumb is just bid for the ceiling and hope that at least you get up to that level. Right, there are a number of things that the reviewers look at, but I would say that it is all stated within the funding opportunity announcement. After it has the announcement kind of takes you through how you're supposed to write the proposal. The last portion tells you how they will look at or review your particular proposal, and within there it is clearly written. Would they like the project director to be somebody with CDC experience? The answer is yes, but it may not necessarily be somebody from with CDC experience. Any manager, any good manager, especially one who has experience with PEPFAR funding. It may have been from USAID, it may have been DOD, but they have managed a project. If you put such a person forward and they have experience with PEPFAR funding and how to manage the same, I believe that would be considered as a project director, and they would not have many issues with that. I do think that at the higher level, it may not matter. Maybe a local staff, maybe an international staff, maybe staff from wherever, it doesn't matter. They have the qualification. If that works for you, there's no problem. But at a lower level, CDC expects that you should be able to engage local staff, give them opportunity, because they are well acquainted, for example, with the local language. Relationship with the Ministry of Health is very, very important. And those who review these proposals actually care a lot about that. Now, the review process, I would say, is very thorough. It's a thorough review process, literally combing it with a toothpick, looking at the language, looking at the layout. It is very objective. And it is scientific. It is done in a very transparent manner. I would say it is a state-of-the-art kind of review. It is done thoroughly. It is a thorough process. It's a well-done process. It's an objective process. Thank you very much. I look forward to meeting you in person.